The best product leaders aren't just product managers. They are part psychologists, part economists, part strategists. They see the world through a lens of first principles. But how do you move from theory to practice? How do you stop being a victim of chaos and start being the architect of your own outcomes? This is the Sovereign PM, the podcast that deconstructs the ideas of product strategist Schwarzkopf to give you a more powerful way to think and lead. It's time to own your outcomes. Let's begin.
All right, let's get right into it. You know the drill, right? You spend months looking for that perfect product manager. You finally hire them, and then, boom, total disaster. Today, we're going to break down a whole new way of thinking about hiring PMs, one that looks way beyond a polished resume to find the right person. I mean, this just hits a nerve, doesn't it? It's that awful, sinking feeling in your stomach when the star candidate, you know, the one with the fancy degree and the big tech name on their resume, just isn't working out. Well, here's the thing. The whole idea behind this explainer is that the problem isn't the candidate. Nope, it's our entire hiring process that's broken. So how do we fix it? Here's the game plan. First, we're going to really dig into what the core problem is. Then we'll cover 3 key principles to turn things around, focusing on character over skills, treating recruiting like a product, and creating the right environment. And then we'll wrap it all up into a brand new playbook you can use. Okay, first up, the big problem. The way we've always done it, that traditional playbook, it's not just a little outdated. It's pretty much designed to fail, especially when you're trying to hire a truly great product manager. So here's the heart of the issue. We get totally suckered in by a slick interview and a checklist of skills. We're sitting here thinking, okay, can they write a PRD? Do they know SQL? But those are the completely wrong questions. We're focused on the stuff we can easily teach, and we're totally ignoring the core personality traits that you just can't. So, if that whole checklist approach is the problem, what's the answer? Well, it all starts with a huge shift in how you think. It's about focusing on a person's core character. You can think of it as their foundational operating system. But what does the right character actually mean? It really boils down to 4 things that are just non-negotiable. First, are they just endlessly curious? Second, are they humble? Like, can they admit when they screw up? Third, is their ego in check? So it's always about the product and not about them? And finally, do they have that grit to just keep pushing when things go wrong? You can't send someone to a workshop for that stuff. And just look at this comparison. It puts it so clearly, right? On the left, you've got this sterile checklist. It's like you're buying office supplies. But on the right, you're trying to figure out who this person really is at their core. The argument here is simple. A PM who has maybe 80% of the skills, but 100% of the right character, that's the person you hire. Every single time. I love this quote because it's such a perfect analogy. Seriously, think about it. You wouldn't try to install a brand new app on a computer with a buggy, crashing operating system, right? It's the exact same thing with people. If you get that foundation, that personality right, you can teach them almost any skill you could possibly need. Okay, but finding people with that solid operating system, it takes more than just tweaking your interview questions. And that brings us to our second big principle. You've got to stop thinking of recruiting as just an HR task. You need to start treating it like you're marketing a really, really important product. So how do you do that? Here are 2 really practical steps. First, your job description, that's your number 1 ad. Ditch the boring corporate templates. Talk about what a great PM actually cares about in their career, things like autonomy, mastery, and purpose. And second, give away your ideas for free. Share how you think about product on your blog or on LinkedIn. This way, you attract people who are into your philosophy, not just your paycheck. All right, let's say you've done it. You hired for character, you marketed the role perfectly, and that amazing person just walked in the door. Great. But your job isn't over. Not by a long shot, because none of that matters if you drop them into a toxic or broken system. This last principle is all about your job as a leader. You have to build an environment where great people can actually do great work. You know, a healthy environment naturally attracts people who want to stick around. The specialists. You've got to be really careful of the job hopper. You know the type, someone who bounces to a new gig every 12 months. They're often just running away from problems, and they've never had to clean up their own mess. Instead, look for those green flags. Look for the person who can tell you a deep, passionate story about a product they worked on for years. They're the ones who will grill you in the interview just as much as you grill them because they're looking for the right home. So, what does this great environment actually look like? Well, it's all about balance. The leader's job is to provide the top-down direction, the why. You set a clear, inspiring vision. Then, the product team's job is to figure out the how from the bottom up. They use their expertise to make that vision a reality. And that combination, a clear destination with the freedom to navigate the path, that is incredibly powerful. Okay, so how do you actually build this? For starters, use something like OKRs to give your team that clarity and autonomy. And hey, flexibility is great, but don't forget the power of being in the same room. That's where the real magic, the unexpected ideas happen. And this is so important. Make sure the whole team is obsessed with solving customer problems. Profit, that becomes a result of doing amazing work, not the reason you show up every day. All right, let's pull all of this together. Switching to this new playbook, this isn't some fluffy, feel-good HR exercise. We're talking about a massive, real-world return on investment. Just let this number sink in for a second. 6 figures. That's the minimum a single bad PM hire can cost you. And that's not just salary. We're talking wasted time, engineering cycles down the drain, and the crushing blow to team morale. Getting this right isn't just a nice to have. It is an absolutely critical business function. So, if there's one thing you take away from all this, let it be this. Stop hunting for unicorns with perfect resumes. It's a waste of time. Instead, focus on building a system, a culture, a process, an environment that is worthy of great talent. The goal isn't to find them, it's to have them find you. And that really leaves us with one final question, one you should ask yourself. When you look at how you hire, what are you really hiring for? Are you hiring a resume, a list of accomplishments on a page? Or are you hiring a future leader with the character to guide your product into the future? Because that choice, it makes all the difference in the world.
And that brings us to the end of this debrief. Our goal is to give you not just ideas, but a more powerful way to think. If you found value in this discussion, the best way to support this work is to give this episode a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you never miss a future session. And if you know a fellow product leader who is wrestling with these same challenges, feel free to share this episode with them. As always, you can find the link to the original, in-depth article by Karsten Schwarzkopf directly in the description below. Thank you for your time and your attention. Stay sovereign.